Welcome to the Citizens Club monthly policy breakfast. We have a very special program today. I would say it's on kind of two major items, but I won't speak, of course, for the presenter. Basically, a comprehensive district facility master plan that District 186 has recently completed, and a referendum for a 1% countywide sales tax increase that'll be on the November 6th ballot. With that in mind, I'd like to introduce the superintendent, a lifelong resident of Springfield, graduate of Springfield Public Schools, worked as a teacher, administrator, building principal, left for a short period, and the school board had enough good sense to bring her back. So let me introduce Superintendent Jennifer Gill.
I always have to adjust. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for having me this morning. I respect all of you so greatly. It's one of my favorite events to come to each year. I think I've been here three times now, but it's always such an honor to be here and speak about things that I'm most passionate about, and that is District 186. Each and every day, I get a lot of texts, and you can imagine that they roll in pretty quickly some days about, wow, how do you kind of weather the storm some days? And the thing is, I absolutely love our community. This is where I was born and raised. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I absolutely love this job in the school district. Every single day there are positive stories happening, and that's my job, is to get to go out, find those, and tell those positive stories, but also dream big for my district, for the students that attend my schools, and for the teachers that serve alongside me so nobly each and every day to do the right thing for kids. So we are here today to kind of keep our focus on the future. What we know is that the things that I'm going to talk today about are not just about District 186, but it's really about our county. And it's not just about the students that we have sitting in our classrooms today, but it's about those students who are going to be joining us into the next few years and beyond. So we want to make sure that we have an economic vitality that starts with our public school system, that starts by having the facilities that we need, not only here in Springfield, but across our county as well. So this has not been a one-year journey. This has been a four-year process. Many of you know that I'm starting my fifth year here as superintendent, and once again, it's something that I celebrate when I wake up every day, that we are on a journey. We have a vision forward. But perception is really everything, and we know that, and I battle that each and every day. I battle the public perception of public education. I battle the perception of how our facilities look, what's going on inside our facilities. I know Dr. Kearns is in the audience, so we battle the perception of data and how people view data about us and how we move forward. So we really started this over 4 years ago. The one thing that I heard when I came into this job in this position, and I had heard it as a principal as well, is that the facilities needed improvements. People were seeing better and new facilities down the road. They were maybe from the Chicagoland area and moving here, and they had facilities that were much more up-to-date, newer, shinier, if you will. It's not every day I wake up, it's not just about the programs that are inside and the great things, but sometimes it's about the infrastructure and the operation and maintenance of the things that we have within our system. So we really started a great conversation with Chris Himbrough. He was coming on at the same time, and we just said, boy, that perception's out there that our school facilities need a lot of work, and the perception's out there that we need to dig into the data a little bit, and we want to give you that opportunity. So they did a Chamber of Commerce perception survey, and that was with the help of the Q5 initiative. And believe me, I've had many conversations with the new ELEDC as well along these. But it really was a great opportunity for the businesses in our community to kind of ask questions and do a perception survey. Capital Area Realtors Group came alongside that and said, hey, we're going to do one with our realtors too, because we're out there hearing that story. too. And a lot of the conversation had been like, well, people always are trying to sell houses here or there. The truth wasn't that. It was that the perception was that things were better other places. And so how can we break down those barriers? How can we really understand what our next step needs to be? So they did this survey as well. And between those two pieces of really qualitative data, we were able to design questions that I could answer. And I was able to go to the Chamber of Commerce, go to a group of community members and say, here are the answers to your questions. The outcome of that, one piece of it was we needed to do a full in-depth facility study of our schools. So we hired BLDD architects to do that project alongside O'Shea Builders and Vasconcells Engineering here in our own community that BLDD actually brought onto their team. And that was after a long, rigorous RFP process that we went out. We actually looked at many different firms that were willing to respond to our RFP. And what we did through that was pretty extensive. Not only did we do a quantitative analysis of every single space of every one of our facilities. My feet were killing me after we did this. I went in places at Lanphier High School I didn't know existed because it wasn't my stomping grounds growing up. But it was a great learning experience just to really see what the space and what the bones of our building looked like, what the infrastructure was needed. And then we did another large process that took us really a year and a half to complete 9 different community engagement sessions with community members, with parents, with educators alongside us. Many of you attended some of those sessions. And we had, I think the least attended one, we had about 100 people and it was about ready to, we were basically needed to take cover in a tornado shelter during the meeting. So that was the only one that had less than 100, and it was a fabulous experience to really understand what the people of our community would like to see in the next steps of our school. This went alongside with us kind of redoing our logo. You see I wear it around my neck, I wear it on my lapel, wherever I go. People are starting to think I don't have anything else to wear. But here's what I know is that our logo really means a lot to us. It not only means kind of carried on the vision of a star, which had always been a part of our logo, but it really talks about our strategic goals that we have for our district. And the first being to expand opportunities for all students, to empower them to learn and succeed. So with that first strategic goal, we are really looking at what are the rigorous course paths we have for our students? What is education that's kind of outside the 4 walls starting to look like? How are we integrating technology in new and greater ways? Because our students have to have those skills when they leave us. Number 2, enhance academic and emotional supports so that students can reach, I am not doing the right thing, am I? There we go, there's the logo. This one was just what I just said. I walked through it. All right, I forgot I have 2. Thank you, Nikki, for reminding me. So with our new logo, big star, I wear it everywhere I go, but these are our strategic goals. I'm caught up. We know that the second strategic goal is enhancing academic and emotional supports for students so that they can reach their full potential, is the goal that we are focusing on greatly this school year with social emotional learning needs, with a braided behavioral support system. We are walking alongside the Springfield Education Association and bringing in National Education Association speakers to help our staff be up to date on trauma-informed practices, on restorative practices, on diversity initiatives. We are so proud to have that relationship and to be moving forward alongside one another so that we can really make sure that we're providing the supports for students that they need, not only academically in the classroom, but behaviorally and emotionally as well. We know that we need to embrace a connected, committed, and collaborative work environment for our educators. Working in a silo in a classroom is not the wave of the future because our students need us to really surround them, to really develop plans of action that are going to take them into their next step, especially as we look at having students be college and career ready, really thinking about how we can expose them to all of the things that might be out there when they are finished with their schooling in District 186. Number 4 is engaging family and community partners at every turn. Being engaged in creating collaborative environments with our community partners is essential and something that I think District 186 has done a great job of with our family and community engagement teams at each of our schools. But last but not least, the one that I'll focus on a little bit today in depth is to excel in fiscal responsibility and facilities planning and management. We have to keep that also up there with the other 5 so that we can support the work that we do. So what we've always said in our mantra during this work is that every dollar spent needs to be toward our preferred future. We can't spend money to put Band-Aids on things that really need to be replaced. We have to make sure that we're spending every dollar toward our preferred future. If you want to see the work that we did in those 9 community engagement sessions, or the quantitative work or the qualitative work that came out, the individual participant comments, all of that is located on our website, and it has a nice little tab, Our Schools, Our Future. You can click on it. You can go to each individual meeting. We really aim to have transparency through the process at every turn. In addition, this entire plan that we're going to talk about today is available kind of in almost a slideshow format so that you can walk through and see what every school is going to be able to receive in this sort of first 10 to 12 year plan that we have online. I have to do a little disclaimer as we move forward with the next slides, and this is very important for you to know and for me to always remind myself, is that no matter how passionate I am about District 186 and moving our vision forward, as a superintendent, my role is to give you facts and information today. But I have some other important people that are going to be in the crowd this morning that can talk to you about how we want to move that mission forward, namely being my board president, Mike Zimmers, and some other people that have joined me today. So I'm here to give you the facts. So that's what I can do today. Superintendents are not allowed to advocate one way or the other, but just give you the facts about the needs of what our system really is trying to move toward. So one thing that I want to kind of clear up, and it's one of those things that some of you who have worked in the school district long enough know that we have been under property tax caps now since 1996. So that's the property tax cap limitations law, and it's something that many counties voted in. It was a very kind of popular thing to do in the mid-90s. There really hasn't been a district roll-on to PTEL for some time now, but it's kind of an important thing to understand, that in this, it sort of limits the ability to levy property tax dollars or raise property taxes just kind of willy-nilly, for lack of better words. There's a specific formula, and it's the total extensions to the lesser of 5% of the 12-month rate of inflation as measured by the CPI, or Consumer Price Index. And it has not ever reached that 5% since the enactment of the law. So nobody's ever gotten up to the 5%. So it's always been capped, lower than that, because as you know, with our economy, the Consumer Price Index has fluctuated and remained relatively low. So it relatively then ties the hands of any school district that's under PTEL or within our county to raise property taxes. So we're within that letter of the law, and it's something that people need to kind of have an understanding around. You see that those numbers are in red here. I kind of wanted to show you also, I have to do both, that there's a pie to how we get money. So about 50% of our overall operating budget, 56% is local funding. That's property taxes. Okay, that's local dollars. Federal is 13.45%. So Title I, Title II, those federal dollars that flow through us. IDEA is for special education students. And then state funding is 30.45%. So that just kind of gives you the pie of how we get our funding. What I want everybody to understand, the red numbers below are where we have started the year every year for the last, for the last 3 years. That's how much in the red we have started the school year, waiting for parts of that 30.45 to come in. So in 2016, we were $6.5 million behind when we started the school year. In 2017, we were $7 million behind starting the school year. Last year, they eliminated proration, and we started to get our money on time for the first time ever, but still today, I am $2.5 million behind, at the same time that we're limited in how much we can raise our levy for property taxes as well. So it's kind of like running a business knowing you're in the hole every day and wanting to create a balanced budget. It's a very hard thing to do, but it's something that we've taken very seriously over the last 4 years. So on the right side, you can see the actual amounts that we've done for our levy, because this was a point made in the SJR, and I just wanted to clear that up, is that if you look at the bottom and go forward, in 2016, CPI was just 0.8%. You add any new property that comes into our community, and that number comes at different times throughout the year, so it's hard when you do your levy presentation. We always overestimate so that we don't have to raise it higher than what we put in our levy presentation. But overall, we only did 1.26% increase in 2015. And then in 2016, we did 1.11% increase. It was 0.7% CPI. Last year, CPI was a little bit higher at 2.10%. Added new property, it ended up being an increase of 2.45% property tax. But once again, it's all within the letter of the law. It's cost of living increase, and that's what we follow each and every time. So it's not as if we sit around and say, let's jack it up this year just for fun. There's a specific policy that we follow. It always stays within this limit, and we follow it to a T every year. And we're always kind of guessing on the new property. New property is good for our community, and it sometimes can help, but new property brings new bodies into our schools and new things that we have to figure out with bus routes and all of those things. Plus, just cost of living hits us too. We buy products to run our school. If those products are rising, then we have to do something to keep up with the times also. So it's something different. It's a popular conversation because in some districts up in Chicagoland, they can just levy and just keep levying against their property taxes, and they aren't under PTEL, but we are, and so we follow that to a T. So we're talking about property tax facility needs. We need to understand some of the facts that came out from us doing our survey and our study. And the first of those is that 81% of our schools are at least 50 years or older. So old is not bad, because I went to Du Bois Elementary, and every time I walk in that school, I think this is what school should look like. It's beautiful inside. It is, when I walk in Springfield High's auditorium, I'm still awestruck. So old is not bad. One of my favorite things to do is to visit historic locations, and that is not a bad thing. However, all homes need upgrades. Nobody in here hasn't replaced a roof or a garage door or windows or kitchen or utilities, and those are the things that we are constantly battling in old buildings with old bones, is keeping up with the upkeep, but also keeping up with what 21st century learning standards should look like for schools. We have 28 temporary mobile units. They're not temporary after 25 years, which is the age of most of them. So yeah, we can put a new roof on a temporary mobile, or we can say, where do we want our preferred future to be? Do we want students filing outside at Butler Elementary School when it's possibly 5-degree wind chill to go to art class or to go to a specialized classroom out there in one of those mobile units? Laketown has 5 mobile units, and 3 of them serve as full-time classrooms. So these are things that face us in a reality that we want to make sure that we're looking at our safety and security measures, but we also want to make sure that we're doing the right thing by our facilities. So we want to continue to maintain our buildings, but we know that status quo is not always the cost-effective thing to do. And we also know that over the next 10 years, if we do the things that we need to do just to do the upkeep and to add the space that is absolutely integral, it's going to be $98 million. So we want to say, let's just do the right thing now and plan forward for our future with what we need. So once again, the plan that we put together was actually a 30-year plan. The plan that you see online is a 10 to 12-year outlook for what we could do first if we are looking at some of the options that we may have. But that doesn't mean that we can't do a capital campaign and have generous donors get us to where we want to go quicker. It doesn't mean that things are not going to come our way and opportunities won't. But we know that to get started and to get this plan on the right measure, we need to look at all options that we have on the table. Once again, it was developed very collaboratively. It aligns with our principles of equity, safety, up-to-date infrastructure, student-centeredness, making sure that we're thinking of what the student of today needs, not just what maybe we saw growing up in our educational environment. And we need to make sure that we look at our historic nature of our schools and integrate that into our plan, because Springfield is built on a rich historical background, and we don't want to see that go by the wayside. And we want to make sure that we're using, once again, maximizing our resources to the best of our efforts. So the first phase 10, what's going to happen? I really encourage you to go online. It would be a very long presentation today if I went into every detail, but here's some of the quick highlights. Security upgrades at every school. That's a huge thing for us today. Critical health, life safety infrastructure upgrades still need to be done at all of our facilities. We want to eliminate our mobile classrooms. We want to make sure we put in critical circulation upgrades. I've learned that kind of means elevators, okay? So circulation of there we go. So the elevators are very important. If you go to Butler or Du Bois, or you think about others, Springfield High has an elevator, and that's a great thing that it's had. But it did kind of change where the main entrance of that school is. So we need to change the main entrance of Springfield High. The front entrance is no longer really feasible for anybody who might have a physical disability or just an individual concern. Like they twisted their ankle or something. You have to go up 3 flights of steps and then go into the building. It's not helpful. So we know we need to think about all of those. We also know that our physical education and our athletic facilities need a lot of upgrades. We actually do not have any middle school baseball-sized fields. We've been trying to create that program to help a pipeline for kids that kind of need that outlet in our middle schools. And we don't have any. We work with the Park District, but it's hard to even schedule those fields alongside our parochial friends that we want to play against for games and also at practice time. None of our schools have softball fields that we own. Those are just a couple examples right now that we can think of, but there's so much more that we could offer our students with physical education opportunities as well if we had additional space. You just know, if anybody's ever worked in a school, you have 150 kids signed up for PE and you have one gym floor, you have to get creative if the weather's bad and you can't be outside. But Owen Marsh Elementary has really kind of been deemed as something that needs to be replaced rather than tried to fix. It was kind of an interesting construction when it was built, but we do have land there. Second, Hazeldell and Laketown schools are operating with very small sizes. The consolidation of them would help greatly, and be able to find a space on that south side of town to still serve the families there is a goal that we have. Both of those schools are running with window units right now rather than central air conditioning, which is better than it was when we were all growing up, I understand. But it is kind of the thing that is talked about the most on a hot day is not, congratulations, Jennifer, you have HVAC in every building and everything's great, but they remind me of the places where it's still not perfect. And one of those is the Edison wing of Lamphere, has no central air conditioning, and neither do Hazeldell or Laketown. Hazeldell and Laketown are really interesting. If we were to move forward and only have the ability to have health, life, safety dollars, we could put a lot of money into those schools and make them nicer, but they're not going to function efficiently. And so we need extra dollars to be able to make that a single school that's going to function the most effectively. So then you look at the high schools and middle schools. We need expansion of our middle school cafeterias drastically. They were built in an era where a lot of kids went home for lunch, and we know we don't like kids leaving campus these days. And then classroom space is needed at our middle schools. Physical education and athletic space is needed for them as well. And then really looking at the comprehensive reconstruction of the historic parts of Springfield High School and Lamphere High School, looking at how we can really increase their physical education needs, looking at an auditorium for Lamphere. The demolition of the Edison wing is a must. And we need to renovate Southeast Auditorium and look at upgrades for their athletic facilities as well as their locker rooms and restrooms, and that would also happen at Springfield High and Lamphere. So how do we get the plan done, so to speak? We know that one of the options is going to be able to sell health, life, safety, and working cash bonds. That's only going to get us so far because when you're in PTEL, it froze you at a certain debt limit. We are well within our debt service now. We have opportunity to sell bonds, but it's only going to get us closer to our preferred future. And once again, health, life, safety bonds can only be used for specific and narrow projects that the state of Illinois has to certify. And also, if you replace a building with any health, life, safety, it has to be the exact same square footage of the building that you're replacing. And an example of that is Matheny Withrow. When they tore the old Matheny, or closed out the old Matheny and took the old Withrow down, they could combine some of that space, but it could only be that same exact square footage. So we couldn't add even one more little extra square foot on with those dollars if we do use health, life, safety. And the next one is the countywide school facilities tax that our board has put forth on the table as an opportunity to raise extra dollars towards that end. And that's when I talked about it being really a county-wide endeavor, because this would be a Sangamon County sales tax, not just a Springfield District 186 or Springfield area tax. But the good thing about it is whenever anybody spends money anywhere in our county, the money would go towards a large pot, and it is a per pupil allocation that gets spent out, and we happen to have the highest per pupil spend out in the county. So once again, it's 1 cent on every dollar spent on any qualifying retail purchase. It's distributed proportionately based on the student population, and it is estimated. We had Stiefel Nicholas just do a kind of an overview for us, and we are anticipating that in Springfield District 186 that we could conservatively receive $10 million per year, and that is such a narrow focused opportunity. It has to be used on improving facilities. That is the only thing it can be used on, and you're going to bet that I'm going to be accountable for that and have to do a lot of state reporting and things of that nature alongside that. So here's some things that we know about this initiative. If you look at the school districts that are on the left, these are all districts that predominantly have Sangamon County. They are encompassed by Sangamon County entirely. And then some of the money would go to districts that might sit within 2 different counties. So if you look at, I always use Waverly, for example. Morgan County just passed a sales tax, so Waverly is getting about 40% of their students are getting money for each of their children that live in that side of the county, but they're getting no money for the students who live in Sangamon County. So they're a split county, Waverly. So this is a really specific and good list that we need to consider is what can you use the sales tax for, what can you not? And I'm really going to spend more time on what you can't today so that we can get to some questions. It cannot go for salaries or overhead, not even salaries within our operations and maintenance department. It cannot go for any direct instructional costs. So this is not going to buy us curriculum or anything like that. It cannot go, I can't buy a bus with it or pay for my bus contract. I cannot buy furniture or fixtures. I cannot buy technology for one-to-one classrooms. I cannot buy any movable equipment or items. And I cannot use it for operating costs for our facilities. But I can use it to build new facilities, do additions and renovations, enhance security entrances, and I can pull some wire if we need to have that for technology, but I can't buy the devices. And then all of the other things that you see on the side, like demolition, parking lots, roof repairs, and last but not least, I'll talk about the last bullet, refunding bonds or abating property taxes at now or any time in the future would be an opportunity with the sales tax. So if we build some buildings and get some things in place, and then we can start looking at abating property taxes, we can do that. Some of our local neighboring communities, Chatham and Rochester for sure, are looking at abating property taxes because within the last few years, they have had property tax actual referendums that have passed in their communities. So that's why you see the shiny new Chatham High School and the amazing Rochester Athletic Center is because they did go out and get referendums for their schools and their improvements. So once again, the countywide sales tax is important. What is not taxed is really important too. No unprepared food. So if you go to the grocery store, I always say be careful what macaroni you buy. If you go to the deli and you buy the really cheesy, already prepared macaroni, you're going to pay a sales tax. If you go down and buy the box kind, you're not going to pay a sales tax. So make your own macaroni, right? And so the other thing is prescriptions and over-the-counter, anything like Robitussin or prescription, none of that is taxed. Advil, anything you would need for your child that's over-the-counter, allergy medication, nothing like that is going to be taxed. No cars, no RVs, no ATVs, no boats, nothing in the car industry is taxed, not even large equipment, mowers, things like that. Farm equipment, anything to do with farm is not taxed, and services are not taxed. So that takes away the regressive nature of this a bit, and it's helpful to know that. But basically, if it's not taxed right now, it's not going to be taxed. So once again, this is just a great slide. I'll just share a couple of these. We can do the new facilities, we can do the renovations, things of that nature, but we really wanted to say that we're going to work on getting 21st century learning spaces for our students. We're going to make sure we have welcoming environments that are safe and secure, that consider green construction, that we look at new construction and comprehensive renovations of our schools. You know, you look at a $100 grocery bill, there will be absolutely no increase unless you're buying stuff from the deli. If you do $50 of gas, it's 50 cents. But if you buy $40 of medicine, there's no increase whatsoever. If you go buy a car, there's no increase whatsoever. If you buy a $70 pair of shoes, it's going to be 70 cents. So these are the kind of ways that you can look. But it's not just our own citizens here in Springfield that are going to be paying that tax. It's the 200 superintendents who are downtown today for the IASA conference that are going to be paying sales tax, okay, in my county. So next year, hopefully, I'll be looking and say, hey, you're helping it. So that's just kind of what I wanted to tell you about the facts of the countywide sales tax. We're in the purple in the middle, right along with Macon County there above us. All the green counties have already passed the countywide sales tax. So we're in a donut. The blue are the ones that are on, the purple are the ones on the ballot coming up. There's one other county up in Chicago that has not been colored blue that just voted it in, and the blue are all ones that have had it and failed, and the small numbers are how many times it's failed in those counties. This is the ballot language. I'll let you just look at it for a minute. The problem with it doesn't say schools until you get all the way down to the bottom. And you can't change this language. So you can't put it, like for the Springfield voters, we can't put District 186, and then for the Chatham voters, put Chatham. It is what it is. That's the language that's in the letter of the law. All right, so just to really quickly kind of wrap up here with the last couple of slides, there's been no voter-approved tax increase of any kind, property sales tax, since 1984. Okay, it was a great year. I was entering high school at Springfield High School. Not too long after that, they built the annex between the gym and Springfield High, and we thought that was pretty cool. But that's the last time we've had any increase for education. So pretty much my entire lifetime of growing up. So revenue increase from the 1% sales tax. Once again, it could only be used for facilities. We can use health, life, safety bonds and maybe some working cash bonds within our debt extension base because we are very frugal with our dollars. We have a very low debt ratio for a district our size. With the number of students that we have about $7 million in debt that we're carrying right now. That's the same amount that the state owed me a year ago, by the way. There's all the debt that we carry, and we have 14,000 students. I'm not going to name the district, but down the road, not too far from here, somebody has $5 million in debt, and they have only 4,000 students. So we've been good. We've done well. But we need to do better for our facilities. And so that's why this plan has been put in place, to have a vision to get there. Because I was at the IASA conference yesterday, And I know that if you don't have a plan, that's a big problem. You always have to have a plan for how you're going to improve and a vision for where you're going to move. And I didn't feel comfortable putting together something in my office. I really wanted to engage the community and get their input. And I did that over the last year and a half. I feel like this plan is one that is going to get us into the 21st century. It's going to make our buildings safer, more secure, more feasible for 21st century learning opportunities. And I want to get to that 30-year plan as quick as I possibly can. I know in 30 years I won't be sitting in this seat, but I'll know I had something to do with it on the front end alongside all of my colleagues and teachers and students. My student roundtable that I have was really engaged in the process over the last year, and they continue to be, and I'm so proud of them because they're trying to vision what they want their next type of school to be. And I can tell you, it's not sitting in rows in individual classrooms and just filing through 6 or 7 periods a day. They really have a vision for how they want to learn and grow. And I've got one in college right now, so I'm seeing it from that angle, and I've got one that's about headed off to college. And so, you know, I know they've gotten a great education, but I know I can do better for our students as we move forward. So Bob, I think I've left you plenty of time here, and I know you said you wanted to make sure that people had opportunity for questions, either for me or people that I have in the audience.
First of all, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyway, I can't see very well, but we'll start out. Questions from the audience? We have to go ahead. Hang on a minute so we get the mic.
Since I think the sales tax increase is necessary, I reluctantly support it, but I just wonder how, whether this will be enough to support our government, because you would think with the property values going up and the various other things going up, that the increases in those would cover new facilities from time to time. So would you think that this 1% increase will be necessary permanently? And also, do you foresee any increase in our sales tax after all this will make it about as high as Chicago's? Thank you.
I can't speak for Chicago, but you know, we've thought long and hard. You know, does this weigh heavy on my heart a bit that we'll be close to, we'll be at 975 at this point in our community? Yes, I mean, I think it's something that in order to bring economic vitality to our community, sometimes we have to make a commitment to say, what is it that's going to allow that to learn and grow? One of the things that the Realtors survey told us, and it was pretty point blank, is that when they talk to their customers, drive-by perception is just as important about than looking at the test scores or and oftentimes people don't even know how to get in and look at a school report card and analyze the test scores and see what's going on inside the buildings or how many advanced placement classes we have or dual credit opportunities. They just drive by the schools. And so doing something to also affect our facilities is going to be an important piece as we move forward. Yeah, I would hope that at some point that we would start getting state funding for improving our facilities, and then we could go to that abatement of property taxes and really help give our taxpayers a relief on that.
Thank you. Next. Do you want to bring Mike up? Or just wait?
Yes, not including athletic programs and facilities, what are enhancements for the humanities, art, music, drama, journalism with designated spaces in the schools with the sales tax?
So each of our high schools, we have really looked at what we need for our performing arts and our music and band programs. So like at Springfield High School, the practice rooms are in kind of like a back nook, almost in like a basement. And so the plan specifically addresses how to improve our band and our choir and those practice facilities there. Lanphier High School, as I mentioned, has not even had a performing arts auditorium or any section of their building that's been designated for this. So that is something that's very important. And in fact, they've either had to rent out this beautiful building or the theater center or some of those places in order to do their performances. Southeast is very similar. Their auditorium needs to have some renovations. There's broken off chairs. There's things that we need to renovate comprehensively there, sound systems, things of that nature. We have so many students that are involved in music, art, and physical education, as well as the performing arts at our school, and it's a very important part, and it can actually lead to career. So we are keeping that at the forefront of each of these facilities plans. Hey, I'm the daughter of a violinist and an orchestra teacher, so you all know that I'm not going to put a plan that doesn't look at the humanities. Sometimes those are the things that really draw our kids into school. They're the ones that get them there so that they want to be engaged in the core curriculum, and we don't want to leave them off at any step of the way.
I want to ask then a quick question on population growth, student population growth. I think everybody understands that we have somewhat a unique situation. Not all of Springfield is in 186. In any event, what does the future look like from a student growth rate?
Well, here's what I hope is that with great new facilities that people keep wanting to move to Springfield and buy houses that reside within District 186 boundaries, there is one thing I cannot do, and that is go change the boundaries of our city. That just is not something that's within the superintendent's ability. However, I do understand the question, and many people have asked us that question is, that I've had people get as blunt as saying they're stealing money from us. We should just go tell them to be a part of our school district. Well, we also know that politically that will be very difficult, political to do. You just can't go to a neighborhood where they built houses and say you're now Springfield District 186. They probably have something to say about that too. So there's all kinds of things we can say, but our population has remained steady between 14 and 14.7. Really, for the last 15 years, we've had that same growth. So we don't really expect our population to drop drastically. We don't want to see that because we want to see the work of the LLEDC continue and the economic development of our community thrive so that we have more and more families coming here, and we want to be their destination district.
Perfect. Yep.
Jennifer, thank you for a great presentation. I came in here this morning convinced I was going to vote against this proposal, but you've changed my mind.
Thank you.
I do have a question. On the $10 million of revenue, how much of that is going to be committed to the debt service that you intend to do in this initial funding? My concern would be that if you maximize the debt service to the full 10 million, then you don't give yourself any options for the future, because that $10 million every year in the future is going to be paying debt service. So is it just a small fraction, or is it a pretty major portion?
Well, it'll be a major portion, but there's a couple pieces of the law that helps us. We have to put 20% of that aside in like a contingency fund, basically, to explain it well. That's a part of the law. And that is so we can, obviously, with any type of sales tax, things ebb and flow over time, and they want to make sure that you're being prudent with your dollars. So that'll be an aside. And what we can do with that is if you're using your debt service and you put that over to the side, if the year is really good and that builds up, you can spend that money then towards those projects that you might need that you might not be able to foresee. So that kind of helps you make sure you're planning efficiently for that. But also what we know is that we can sell the bonds that are needed to do the work with the money that we would receive, but we kind of looked at like a 25-year, like how far we could go, and then after 25 years, you could look at future opportunities. We're not going to get to the whole $300 million project perfectly, without thinking about maybe some great opportunities from donors to say, hey, not only did we support this, but we want to take it to the next level and go here. And we know that there's people out there that want to help us and make us go to the next level. And we would love to even have them just be very vocal and out there about, hey, we want to make this happen for our community sooner than later. That helps.
Jennifer, to dovetail with the gentleman's initial comment, there is a group, and I know you said that you could not advocate, but there is a group, One Sangamon Schools, that is in the process of taking this information. Can you give at least information about that group?
I've actually brought them here today, or invited them. So we have Amy Madigan Brown over here. She's a parent in our district and sort of chairing, as well as Mike Zimmers, our board president, with us. So if you'd like to take the floor and ask them any questions.
Ballot language on the back of our cards. Just for easy reference, we are absolutely looking for not only endorsements and support, financial support, and boots on the ground. We do have several committees. We are made up of members, community members, and board members from all of the county districts. We meet on a regular basis, weekly basis, while we're planning our strategy. And any support, we are happy to have folks sign up for canvassing, because we'll be doing that every weekend in October before the election. So again, I'm Amy Brown. I'm happy to answer any questions, onesangamon.com. And our email is onesangamon@gmail.com. And if there's any questions specifically besides that, I'd be happy to take those. Yes.
O-N-E or the number one?
It is spelled out, O-N-E, onesangamon at gmail.com or onesangamon.com.
Good. But
I know it's not your job to promote other districts, but what's this going to do for the other districts in the county?
I do know, and Amy might even be able to jump in again on that. Each of the county school districts have the same type of a sort of a master plan, if you will, where they're going to use their monies and their funds, and each of them have a different vision that they need. I know, for instance, New Berlin needs improvements to their high school. If you drive by it, it's got the same drive-by feel as some of our schools. I know Rochester and Chatham have talked about doing some of the basic renovations and things that they need for their buildings, but then also thinking about they're actually looking at abatement opportunities, because they have passed those property tax referendums. And each and every district will be putting on their website, so you could go to each district and find out what they need. I don't know all the details inside and out, but I know that, Amy, am I right that everybody's been attending your meetings? I'm not sure. Yeah.
All of the districts at each one of our meetings and at our website, you can get pretty much the top 10, or in some cases, just if depending on which district it is, how many goals that they have, you can find that all on our website.
And I know Williamsville has an extensive plan of action on their website. I know that superintendent well.
this is an awfully good opportunity to ask questions that you might want to ask. With that in mind, why don't you wrap it up here for a minute or so
Certainly
and give us a little
Time for whatever.
time, and we'll release the crowd.
You know, there's one thing, and I see my friend Jack Pfeiffer, and just thank you for his service to the district as well as his wife's. And he and I have had some great conversations. Where are you, Jack? I know you're in the room somewhere right there. He and I have talked a lot about Lanphier High School and the high-speed rail, and I've been in many, many conversations with Hanson Engineering alongside that same conversation, because they have obviously been the leader in our community with the high-speed rail, along with the city of Springfield. And so, we are cognizant of that. And in every design that we consider for that land where Lanphier High School sits and is sort of historically sat, the interesting thing about Lanphier High School is I'm not sure when they put all the railroads around it, but at some point they've got two big gigantic railroads that are running right beside. Every time I drive in on the Amtrak, we drive right through there. And then also, you've got the line that's right behind Robin Roberts Field that the Park District owns, that's very close to Lanphier. And I think the improvements will be in the infrastructure around those railroads for safety and security reasons. It isn't something that we're not considering in the plan as we move forward, and we will, of course, in every single one of these projects, will go out for RFP. They'll have specific, things that we want to have in each of our facilities, and with anything that we do at Lanphier, we'll consider the safety and security that we might need around having a railroad, a little bit closer to the school than maybe anticipated. So those are the kind of things that will come up in this plan. And so when you have a plan, it's just like when you build a house, you got your initial plan and you sit down and you think, yeah, I want this gigantic bathroom with all these bells and whistles, and then they come and say, well, here's the price on that. And you're like, all right, well, let's look at maybe what it'd be with a different type of tile or, something. But we're going to have to make sure that each one of these are going to go out for RFP individually, and then we're going to have opportunities for, people to come back and bid on it and help us dream and create the vision. So I wanted to bring that into the room out of respect for, really, it's been almost 2 years of conversation around that, and I appreciate that, Jack. I just think that this plan of action is what we needed. You can't say to voters, hey, I think I got an idea, and throw it out there without having a distinct plan of where you want to go and a vision for where you want our district and our community to go. Springfield is a great place. We're in a great location. I was just having a conversation with Eric Berglund, our new director of the LLEDC, and he's like, how many opportunities to work in a city and grow in a city that has such a historical value to it, located in the center of the heart of almost three major highways with I-72 and I-55 and I-57 not that far away, for commerce and the action to go through on those highways, and also have major railroad lines as well, and have the infrastructure that we have in our community. It's an opportunity, because people are like, why'd you move here from Florida? Well, I mean, this time of year, it's not so hot to live down there if you've got weather coming through, but the rest of the year, it's pretty amazing. He sees promise in this community like no other, and he has energized me to continue to have my vision as I move forward, because there is so much great things that could happen here in Springfield, and I want to be a part of that, and I think this plan definitely helps us move forward.
Please thank Superintendent Gill for joining us this morning. Thank you for joining us.